He's recently been getting accolades as an independent conservative from an unlikely pair, Newt Gingrich and former President Bill Clinton. Joining me now live from Little Rock is Republican presidential candidate Governor Mike Huckabee. Good morning to you, Governor.
Good morning, Gretchen.
You know, last week I was out of the country, but I have to tell you, one headline made it all the way to Turkey, and that was that President Bill Clinton said that you were the dark horse candidate on the Republican side. I thought the only thing you had in common with him was that you were both from Hope, Arkansas.
Well, we had that in common. We're both musicians. Our political leanings are certainly different, and we definitely have a different pick for who ought to be president in 2008. But I appreciate the bumps wherever I can get them, and I think President Clinton is certainly a politically astute observer, and I'll take that kind of accolade anytime I can get it.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, also apparently on your side. He's known to speak what he thinks, and he says if it were not for the whole money issue, that you would be instantly competitive.
Well, the reality is we are competitive, even with a much smaller purse than some of these guys have. I mean, if you look at some polls that came out yesterday, or the Washington Post, I'm within 3 points of a guy who has spent about $50 million. Rather than me being disappointed, I'd be crushed if I'd spent that kind of money and weren't sailing ahead. So we're pretty happy with where we are, in that we've made progress every quarter. We continue to pick up supporters. And as I've said all along, this is like a NASCAR race. It's the last laps that count, not the first ones.
You know, we've heard a lot in this political season that started so much earlier this season than in the past, that there's so many debates, and here we go again, and there's so many candidates. But for a candidate like you, I would think that these debates would be helpful because people can finally see and hear who you are.
Every debate we do, I gain points in the polls. I get more contributions. We get more volunteers. So no doubt about it, Gretchen, the debates have been great because it finally separates candidates not on nobody walks up there with a dollar sign across their chest. We have to unload our answers, and that certainly starts making things a little more interesting than just looking at a person's checkbook.
And for you right now, you have to start unloading your strategy. I took note of an article yesterday where you are coming out now pretty strong, and you're saying, look, if you are looking for that independent candidate, the GOP conservative who's really going to apply myself to the base, I am your guy. Is that the strategy?
Well, pretty much so, because the reality is, as people look at the top tier, they sometimes say, gosh, those guys don't represent the heart and soul of the traditional Republican Party, and they don't. What I bring is not only more executive experience than anybody on either side, Democrat or Republican, but also an authentic conservatism that's been based on doing something, not just making speeches and taking a few votes in the Senate. That matters to people when they really start thinking about leadership. I think the other thing that's starting to come forth is that Republicans can't nominate an what I would call an establishment Republican, a Wall Street subsidiary. We've got to have somebody whose roots and whose connections are right to the heart and soul of mainstream America.
Another thing that was an attack on the GOP base, what many people thought was the attack on Rush Limbaugh. Some of the other Republican candidates, presidential candidates, have come out and said what they think about it, specifically Romney and Thompson. Giuliani may be stating something later today. I'm going to give you the opportunity to make news this morning, Governor Huckabee. How do you feel about the whole event?
Well, with all the things the United States Senate ought to be doing, securing our borders, resolving the situation in Iraq, improving education and health care, what are they doing? They're worried about what a talk show host says. I can't think of anything that is a greater waste of their time and my money as a taxpayer. And frankly, Rush Limbaugh has a right to say anything he wants to. Last time I checked, the First Amendment has not been repealed. And while individual citizens can say whatever they want to about Rush Limbaugh, it is not the business of government to infringe upon the free speech of anybody, including a talk show host.
And I understand you're going to release that statement on your internet site today, which is MikeHuckabee.com. Next time you're on the East Coast towards New York, come and pay us a visit here on our couch, okay?
I look forward to it, Gretchen. Thank you very much.
All right, great to talk with you.